Hi, everybody. I'm Fiona. I'm from Coach Hub, and I'm really excited to be here this afternoon at your Learning Festival. I am the head of people for Coach Hub for Asia Pacific, and so what I wanted to do today was just share with you a number of insights that I've picked up along my professional journey with respect to coaching. And I'm coming at this from a couple of angles. First of all, definitely as a practitioner, as a people practitioner, certainly as a leader, and also working in an organisation that delivers coaching to many other companies. And I really wanted to share with you what we've learned as we've rolled out coaching across Asia Pacific. And I think I'll start with just saying that there's a misconception that coaching is only for executive level or coaching is only for remediation. And I really want to debunk some of those myths this afternoon. Coaching is such a powerful tool, and it's something that we can use upwards, downwards, across, and I really hope that by the end of the session today, you can walk away just with a few more insights and a few more thoughts in terms of how you can use this really powerful tool to engage your people, to deliver high levels of performance, and to really move forward as a professional and as a leader. So the session today is called "Can You Be My Coach?" And I'm hoping that I answer some of the questions that might be out there with respect to that. So the way we've tried to structure the agenda is really around some of the common questions we get asked with respect to coaching. So these are some of the answers to those common conversations as we support the rollout of coaching in other organisations, but certainly as we engage in coaching in our own organisation as well. And what I'd say also up front is, whilst I've put these agenda items up, this is your session too. And I'd really encourage you to think about how you can coach me and ask me the right questions and to make it your session. So if there are things that you'd like to raise, if there are questions that you ask, please don't hesitate. The more interactive that we can make it, the better it is. And I like to think I can multitask fairly well. I have got my chat window open, so please feel free to pop any thoughts in the chat window or questions or comments as we move forward. And I'll look to bring those into the conversation, because I'm sure the questions that are top of mind for you are certainly going to be the questions that are top of mind for other people as well. So what I wanted to cover today really was why. So why is coaching a really good intervention to adopt in terms of how we lean into some of the opportunities within our industry and within the organisation? So what is coaching? How can we define coaching? What it is, the evolution that it's undertaken, and the development of a coaching culture. How? So some tips on practical execution, but also how to develop those coaching relationships. And then finally, the impact. So we are, at the end of the day, working in organisations that are seeking commercial outcomes, and that return on investment is really, really important. So how do we engage in activity that delivers that return on investment? But also, how can we activate coaching so it has the best impact? So they're the topics that I wanted to cover with you today. But first of all, I'd love to hear from you, and this is your opportunity to put some messages in the chat function there. So I'd really love to understand what holds you back from coaching your colleagues more often. And remembering coaching can happen at a peer level, it can happen with our teams, we can even coach our bosses. What is it that holds you back from engaging in coaching? So I'll just take a minute and feel free just to type into that chat function any thoughts that you have. I'm sure there's a prize for the first person who puts the first chat in there. Good work, David. A constant problem statement. Not sure how we should approach mindset change and outcomes, e.g. getting teammates to be more meticulous or committed to quality. Yeah. What else? What else holds you back from coaching? Afraid other colleagues think that we're trying to say that that we are better. Yep. Yep, really good point. Thank you, Daryl. Coaching culture needs to be cultivated. Yep, absolutely. Oh, David, that's such a good one. An observation. It's actually faster if I do it than teach you. We hear that a lot. It's so true. If I just do it myself, well, then I'll get it done and then I can move on to the next task. How about another couple before we move on? As I like to say, I have 2 teenage daughters, so I'm really good with awkward silences. I can't describe what I'm doing. I'm in way too deep. Sometimes it just is. Yep. And open door. Great. Yeah, I think these are all really good points and things that do hold us back from engaging in coaching with our colleagues. It's really important to have that open door. It's important to cultivate that coaching culture. We're all really busy, and sometimes it's just easier if we just we do it ourselves. So really great points. Hopefully we can cover some of those off today, and also cover off, I think what's really important is what's the mindset that we need to take into coaching, and how that will help us deliver a really effective coaching discussions and interventions. I like to say that change happens one conversation at a time, and that's really what we're talking about today. We're talking about good conversations, and conversations can take us forward in such a powerful and impactful way. Conversations, when we're talking about them in the context of coaching, support our colleagues move to a better place. So with that as an intention, we look at what are the questions that we can ask to leave the folks that we're coaching in a better place. And that will take certainly a certain mindset and an approach, and I wanted to share some of that with you this afternoon. But thank you for putting your comments in the text box, and I'll ask you a few more questions as we move forward and through this. So just be ready to get those typing fingers out and going. Okay, so why coaching? Why is this something that we in the digital transformation industry should consider? Why is it something that is worth our time this afternoon in even exploring? Well, we know that change is just business as usual nowadays, and certainly when we're working in the space of digital transformation, it is it's critical because what we're talking about is ongoing behaviour change. This was a great report from Deloitte, and I'm sure many of you have seen this report. It's entitled Digital Transformation from Buzzword to an Imperative for Health Systems. And it really reflects on what some of those key opportunities are. The piece around rapidly evolving technologies that leads on to clinical innovation. That clinical innovation starts to redefine the customer relationship or the consumer relationship between healthcare providers and recipients. And that really requires new talent. I think too what we've noticed is that COVID-19 has really accelerated some of these shifting consumer preferences and absolutely innovation in care delivery. But I think what's also true is to realise the change and transformation that's happening across all of these areas. We actually need to shift behaviours as well. We're not only talking about implementing digital innovations, but we're also talking about changing the way that people do things. And we know that unless we marry one with the other, the impact that we're going to have is going to be somewhat limited. So if we look at how we lean into those industry opportunities, we note that there is a whole lot of change and a whole lot of behaviour shifting that's required. So when we're talking about more than just investment in technologies, what we're talking about is the requirement for human intervention. And human intervention is going to be really critical for success as we move forward with digital transformation initiatives. And if we look at these as the key accelerators around leadership and also managing those cultural barriers, you can see that our coaching is really a very important human intervention lever that we can lean on to start to shift some of those behaviours. And the reason why that human intervention is so important is because employees are facing challenges when they're looking at any kind of significant change. The reasons for failure tend to be on the people side. And the reason is that with digital transformations or with any kind of change, people start to say, well, hang on for a second, we don't like it, we don't like the change, it's hard, it's difficult, it feels a little bit painful, I'm in a good routine and you're asking me to do something different. That's going to take me more time. It's going to take some effort for me to potentially upskill. We don't like uncertainty, and as humans, we certainly like to be certain and to be sure about what's around the corner, so we can plan and prepare for it. But also that we need that social connection too. And you can start to see how coaching is going to be really important to help people move through some of these challenges. And the reason why I say that is because everyone is different, and we know that intuitively. We know that everyone is different. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different perceptions. We all have different life experiences. So the way that I lean into a change or doing something different is going to be very different to the way that other people adopt that shift. What coaching enables us to do is to really start to personalise and to tailor our approaches and our responses to deliver greater impact. Because when we're faced with change, what we do is we have some automatic physiological reactions, and they really drive behaviours. And I know that everyone's heard of those before. It's a fight, flight or freeze response when we're faced with something that is threatening or uncertain or anxiety producing, and it increases our stress levels. And what coaching allows us to do is to move into that ideal zone of stretch that allows us to start to work with that optimal performance level. So it is a really good intervention to work with individuals, to meet them where they are, to understand their reaction and to support them actually achieve that. And taking it back to where we started, when we talk about people's behaviour change and we talk about transformation, we talk about marrying that together. What we don't want is for people to end up in that strain and burnout zone. We want them to feel that good, robust stretch that allows them to really work with what's in play for them at that point in time. And the best way to do that is with a personalised human intervention approach that allows them to look at how they can adopt this change in their day-to-day. So, what is coaching? I've talked a little bit about the why of coaching, and now I just wanted to start to unpack a little bit with respect to what it is. Let's move into that, and to start to look at what are some of the techniques that can help us move people into that ideal zone. So here's a great technical definition of coaching, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. First of all, coaching is non-hierarchical, and I love that comment earlier about, and I think it was from Daryl, that we're afraid that other colleagues think that we're trying to say that we're better. Coaching is non-hierarchical, it's developmental, and the relationship that you establish through between the coach and the coachee very much sets that tone that it is non-hierarchical. It's developmental, so the purpose is how I can grow my skills, how I can develop some further insights, how I can move forward from the place where I am now to the place that I want to be. So how do we do that? It's through learning, and learning being on-the-job learning and reflection. The great thing too is, and certainly what we've noticed, is that this can be both in person, but it also can be very effective virtually as well. So you don't need to have a coaching dialogue with someone who's in the room with you wearing a mask. You can certainly do it via Zoom. And those relationships and that intervention is certainly just as successful and just as effective as if you were in the room. You know what, probably a little bit safer given where we are with COVID at the moment. This is important, and if I leave you with nothing else than this message today, then I feel like I've done my job well. What we're doing here is helping people to help themselves. So what does this mean? This means that we're not going in with the expectation that we know it all, that we know everything, that we need to be the experts in every technicality to be able to coach an individual. That's not what it's about at all. It's a goal and solution oriented approach that allows people to start to self-identify and self-regulate and improvement. And just think about how that is more effective. I know when I'm told how to do something, you know, it doesn't really work all that well for me. But if I go through a process where I'm actually given the time and the support and the facilitation to think that through myself, I'm much more likely to adopt that change behaviour. And that's why this is so powerful. It's saying that people can help themselves here, and what we're doing is just taking them through that process where they can do exactly that. And I'm sure many of you on the call today are very similar. You know, if someone comes in and tells you what to do, it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right to me. Whereas if I can go through a process of helping myself, well, then I'm much more likely to adopt the change. Coaching has gone through quite a transformation over the past 20 years. To the point where now we're really focusing on coaching cultures and how we can establish coaching cultures, which is really modelling that kind of behaviour in terms of how can we grow together. And what I love about coaching and when I'm coaching my team is that I learn so much myself. I feel like it's such a symbiotic relationship in that I'm coaching them, but the way that they're sharing the information back with me helps me learn so much about them. It helps me learn so much about their perspectives on the problems that we're facing. It gives me really valuable insight in terms of defining what are our next steps as a team and how can I work best with that team to actually deliver to those outcomes. It's such a great place to be. It's so energizing. It's so powerful. And going through this process really positions you so well to move forward. And that's a long way from where it started back in the 80s, where it was really seen as a bit of a remedial tool. I can remember those days. You know, it was in my early days of being an HR manager, we always used to look at coaching as a tool that would help us work with someone who was going through any kind of performance management. It's moved so far from that. And here are just some of the generations of coaching that we've seen over those 20 years. So we moved from being a remedial tool to changing others. My boss wants me to change, so that's why I'm getting coaching. To the leader as a coach, I will be the coach. To a much more positive place of anyone can be a coach. As I said, we can coach upwards, downwards, across, and it's about how we grow ourselves and our organisations together. And in so doing, we're adopting a practice that not only transforms our businesses, but it also increases employee engagement, and it also therefore increases our retention capability as well. So it is a great tool. I think too, what we've also noticed, and this is particularly true over the past couple of years, is the impact that COVID has had on these types of interventions. And personally, I also really applaud how organisations are now looking at coaching being both a focus on performance, but also well-being. And I think we know intuitively that if we don't have a focus on well-being, you know, it's the impact we can have on performance is going to be very, very limited. So when we're looking at moving forward with coaching and also the questions that we're asking, it's always good to explore both those areas. How can we ensure that the well-being of the individual is maintained as we're looking to continue to develop that performance? So we can really move into that flourishing phase, which is where we know we get that sweet spot of really high retention, great performance outcomes, and high engagement. So coaching is not it's not mentoring. And sometimes I've been on a fly on a wall in coaching sessions, and I've noticed that people tend to move into that old familiar zone of telling people what they would do or sharing their own experience. It's really not that kind of discussion. It's about them. It's not about us. It's about helping them move forward and you know, holding the space with the individual so that we resist that temptation to share our own experience. And it's also about resisting that temptation with the next piece about giving advice. Again, this means that we're not technical experts. It's not about giving advice. Again, it's about holding space to allow people to come to solutions and outcomes themselves. It's not about training, teaching content, and it's not psychotherapy either. It's not about treating mental disorders. There are many seasoned and competent professionals who can support that kind of treatment. What it is, it's about being willing to be present, to be curious, and to lead a conversation so that reflection can occur. Now, I know sometimes that's a bit scary because if you're anything like me, I like to go into any conversation with a solution and an outcome. I like to go in and think, okay, you know, with any question that I'm asked here, I've got an outcome, and I can answer any question that's put to me. And it does take courage. It takes courage for coaches to be able to sit back and to sit with that ambiguity and to sit with that opportunity not to jump in with a solution and not to jump in with an outcome. And I understand how tough it is because it's tough for me too. But that's where you really get the real value from coaching, by not jumping in and allowing people to get to that outcome themselves. So this should give you a high level of comfort that coaching is really about asking those questions. And with any coaching situation, going in with some great questions, some open questions is critical. The why, the what, the how, the when, the why again, you know, all of those types of open questions will really help you move forward with your coaching. And we've talked a little bit about mindset. We've talked a bit about what we need to hold top of mind when we go into those discussions. And here are some mindsets that we talk about that are really important. That we're not the experts, that the clients that we're working for are the experts for the solution. If the thing that you do doesn't work, then do something else. You know, it's all about trial and error, and what might work sometimes might not work other times. And just that trial and error approach is really valuable in helping people understand and learn from the experience. People always make the best choice at any given time. They have all the necessary resources to achieve the desired changes. The best solutions come from freedom of choice. There's no truth, only constructions of reality. And every action is a resource depending on the context. So these are some of the mindsets that we have when we go into any coaching situation. With the outcome being that we do look at unleashing the full potential of people to drive the transformation of any business. So it's how can we facilitate that behaviour change that allows us to move both the individual and the business forward. Okay, so let's start talking about the fundamentals of how. And I'm moving into now another question. So I'd like you to think about a coaching relationship that you might set up. What do you think is important to consider when you would be setting up a coaching relationship? So again, if you can use the chat function, think about what would you consider when you were setting up a coaching relationship? What are some of the things that you might think about? The purpose of the coaching, yep. Trust and openness, definitely. Yeah, thanks, Benjamin. Having it being held in a non-threatening way and in a safe place. Yeah, trust and psychological safety, absolutely. Confidentiality. What else might you think about when you're considering setting up a coaching relationship? Trust and confidence. No judging, caring and empathy. Yeah, thanks, Bam Bang. And you know, absolutely curiosity, openness of conversations, expectations of each party. You guys are on fire tonight. Interaction preferences, definitely. Thank you for that. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Heart to help and willingness to listen. Oh, I think I might take that as a quote forward. Heart to help and willingness to listen. And being non-judgmental and a teachable attitude. That's great, Vivian. Definitely a teachable attitude, and we'll definitely draw on that too. Willing and agree to work together. Set expectations. Yeah, you guys don't need me. You've got it all sorted. I love it. I love it. They're all such important points that you've raised this evening. And what I wanted to do now was just give you a quick overview of some things to consider when you're setting up coaching relationships. And I really, and I guess what I'm doing here is talking about setting up a formal coaching relationship. And of course, there are informal coaching relationships that you can set up as well. And every conversation is a bit of a coaching opportunity. But what I'm going to do is start with the more formal orientation, and then you can take forward any thoughts that we share this evening into informal discussions as well. And being cooperative too. Yep, thank you. Okay, so when we're talking about coaching, we're talking about that transfer of learning. And what we want to do is to look at what is the kind of environment that increases that transfer of learning. And the environment is everything that folks have put forward in the chat function. The piece of it being trust and that sense of psychological safety, the trust and the confidence, the caring and the empathy, the openness of conversations. Making sure people have clear expectations and so on. As I said, what we're doing here is looking at that transfer of learning. So how can we set this up in a way that really delivers to that outcome? And there are three core elements that we look at in terms of prediction of success. And the three core elements are having a high quality working alliance. So having that strength of coach or coachee relationship. Now, this is developed throughout the relationship. So, you know, you can start with a new coach and certainly that can be developed. Coachee self-efficacy, and Vivian mentioned the piece around having a teachable attitude, and this is where that starts to come in. We absolutely want coachees to believe that they've got the motivation, the willingness to cope with the demands or to cope with that behaviour change. And then finally, the perceived coach competency. Now, again, this can be developed through the coaching relationship. But what this really means is that I can facilitate the discussion in a way that allows people to, and it's that whole concept of getting on the balcony. And as we move through our working careers, at times we're on the balcony looking down and seeing what's happening below us, or we're in the dance and we're getting things done. What we're talking about here is the coach competency to allow people to get on the balcony, to start to look down at the dance and see the themes and the insights that are emerging. And that's what we mean by perceived coach competency. If we double click on the working alliance and what that means, that really comes down to three core elements. It's around the bond, the goal, and the task. So the bond really relates to that concept that I'm working with someone who's invested in this relationship, and some of that came through in what you put forward. For example, being willing and being agreeable to working together, having the heart to help and the willingness to listen. That all develops the bond, that emotional relationship between the coach and the coachee. I feel like you're invested in this relationship. The next one is the goal. So what we want coaching to be is driven towards an outcome at the end of the day. As I mentioned earlier, we work in commercial environments for commercial organisations. This is a great tool to positively impact performance. To positively impact performance, we need to have goals. And having that goal means that we move in that direction. As we know, as people, we're teleological, which means that we move towards that image that we hold uppermost in our mind. And that's why goals are so important. When we have a really clear picture of where we want to be and what we want to achieve, we can move in that direction. And that's why goals are critical. So there's goals. And then finally, the task. So the task indicates agreement regarding the methods and the tasks of coaching. And basically what this means is that I'm comfortable with the process that we're using here. I'm comfortable that you're asking me good questions and you're giving me the time and the space to be able to reflect. And that's what that task piece means. It's about how can I feel good about the process that we're working through. You don't interrupt me. You don't put your own views forward, and you don't try to provide direction. You allow me the space to actually figure out how to move forward. The predictors for a high working alliance. And we talked about this too in terms of teachable attitude. For the coachee, it's around having that change motivation behaviour. What does that mean? As a coachee, I'm going to engage positively with you. Unless your coachee has that kind of mindset and that kind of openness to engage in the relationship, the impact that you're going to have is going to be pretty limited. It's going to be a pretty unrewarding experience. So how can we make sure that coachees go in with the right kind of mindset? I'm going to share information. I'm going to engage positively with my coach, so we move in the right direction. The coach behaviour, it's not about experience in years, and it's not about personality. The perceived competence behaviour here is that the coach can ask questions that enable the coachee's thoughts to be challenged, to action, to help them make discoveries, but also to enable them to release those emotions. We know when people have strong emotions, that releases energy and provides a real desire for individuals to move forward. So these are some predictors for high working alliances. It's not about personality similarity. It's not about personality matching, but it is through these two mindsets, it's allowing people to develop that behavioural similarity where I know where we're going, I'm committed to the process, and I feel like each of us are committed to the relationship that we're engaging in at the moment. And that allows the coachee to develop or to achieve those outcomes that are really important. The satisfaction, the effectiveness and capability, the learning, the reflection, the insight, and the goal attainment. So once we've put that coaching relationship in place, we're in the best position to start to achieve those coaching outcomes that are going to be really important. Okay, so let's move to impact. And impact is really important. It's always good to think about what is the impact that you want to have here. What is the impact that you want to have with the individual? What is the impact you want to deliver to your organisation? What does that look like? Okay, so next question. What outcomes would you want coaching to deliver? So if you think about any coaching relationships that you've had, if you think about when you have engaged in coaching, what are some of the outcomes that you look to deliver through that coaching relationship? Thanks, Benjamin. Definitely improvement in results. Yeah, the coachee to be happier, engagement. Gain confidence, that's a terrific one actually. Once people gain confidence, they're going to move forward at a much more accelerated pace. More trust in each other, definitely. I mean, there are those outcomes that are not just about the specific skill or task you're coaching, but how it builds up the team. A different view to an issue. Yeah, let them feel that someone cares for them. Reduce the power distance, fabulous. Maybe a couple more from that eureka. Oh, I love this. That eureka moment where the person recognises, understands, and can do whatever it was they set out to do by themselves, that independence. I think if we, that's so insightful, clearer perspective. Just think about your own career. Think about those people who've had such a powerful influence on you. Those people who saw more in you than you saw in yourself, and how they've just allowed you to blossom and to grow and to move to the next stage of life. That is what this tool enables you to do. And I love that description of it, that eureka moment where the person recognises, understands, and can do whatever else they set themselves out to do. And I love it as a eureka moment. It's that epiphany when people realise, I had the solution all along. That's when I gain confidence, I gain trust in myself and in each other, and I have a different view to an issue, that people actually care enough to ask these questions. Okay, so the benefits of coaching are already proven. We know that. We know it delivers both tangible outcomes, and we know that it delivers intangible outcomes. And that ranges from productivity to innovation to self-awareness and so on. So the benefits of coaching, we know, are proven and certainly very visible in organisations that we work within. So when you're starting with coaching and you're starting to think about the impact that you want to have, we would really encourage you to start with the end in mind. So, and this relates to whether you're working with an individual or whether you're working with a wider team. Think about the value that you want to create for that individual, the value you want to create for the wider team. What are those objectives? What are the needs that you want to address? Because that allows you to move into those discussions with a clearer focus. What are the changes for the individuals as a result of the coaching? What are the results that you want to achieve? What's going to be different when those results are delivered? And these are also great questions to ask your coachee. Asking questions like, what do they want to learn? What are the behaviours also we expect of the participant? So when you're moving into a coaching relationship, that willingness to be part of it, that willingness to engage in that alliance is really important. And it's good to be clear and to clarify those up front. And then finally, so who are the right participants? What's the kind of timing that we would expect for the coaching intervention? And what else in the organisation is serving this goal? I know that organisations offer great developmental programs, and the impact can be enhanced if you're integrating with those other programs. So when you're considering this, there are a certain number of inputs that can inform your thoughts with respect to the coaching value chain. So did you want a coaching contract? Are you going to do something formal there? What kind of coaching intervention are you going to adopt? What is the coaching readiness and motivation? And do you need to do anything around that before you kick off? In terms of the outputs, starting to capture the reaction to the coaching, the learnings that are achieved and the behaviours that are adopted, so that you can achieve some of these great results that we've already talked about. And that allows you to really start to define the value creation that you're delivering back into your business and your organisation. So in the couple of minutes that I have left, I just wanted to quickly walk you through a case study from the pharmaceutical industry, and it's an organisation that we've worked with, and it shows you the level that coaching has been taken down to in a very systematic, institutional way, and some great results that have been delivered. So this relates to B. Braun. They've got 65,000 employees over 64 countries, and they're a well-established and long-standing organisation in the industry. They started off with coaching just being focused on what they call their key influences. And that was really after a big restructuring process across 3 plants that they adopted. What they realised pretty quickly was that if they rolled out coaching to a large target group, they could actually move forward with that change program at a much more accelerated pace. And so what they did after a couple of months of working with the key influencers is started to target all levels, including the CEO and the head of the workers' councils that we know are pretty prevalent in Europe. The results were so good that they then moved to a further extension of the coaching, and they integrated it into the competency framework, with finally doing a global rollout across all employees worldwide, so across 65,000 employees worldwide. enabling them to access coaching to support their performance and to support the behaviour change that they were looking to adopt at a more global level. So it's a great example, if I just go back to what we were talking about earlier, that this is an organisation well respected, well established, that rolled out coaching broadly across its entire organisation. And this was not remediation. This was very much focused on high performance and developing those. So we asked them what the results were that they achieved. All the coachees completed their assigned coaching time. So 100% of coachees completed their coaching time. The Working Alliance review was very high. We talked about Working Alliance and the importance of that earlier. 89% of coachees reported that they've implemented new behaviour through coaching, with a 97% overall satisfaction. These are great results to take back into the organisation, both as a practitioner, but also as a coach sponsor. So some great results for that organisation. So finally, how do you activate this? As I've mentioned before, sometimes coaching takes courage, because it does allow, or it does mean that you do need to sit with some uncertainty, particularly in the relationship that you build with that coach. You need to define your why. So what is it that we're looking to achieve here across the commercial landscape, but also across the HR landscape as well? How does it support the goals that are important? What kind of sponsorship do we need? Designing the what. So what does the core elements of the coaching program look like? What are the expectations that we want to deliver to? But also, what are the tools and the resources that we need to provide to our coaches so that they feel comfortable and confident going into those interactions? What are the series of questions that we would encourage them to ask? Then consider your how and your who. So how would you develop or identify the coaching capacity? So who do you want your coaches to be? Who do you think has the skill and the will to be able to engage in these relationships? What does that pool look like, and how do you communicate it? And then the when piece, which is creating a plan, and how do you make sure you keep momentum and energy in what you're doing here? So with that, and I'm right on time, I think, I might bring it to a close. I think I'd just like to applaud everyone for being part of the discussion this evening. Coaching is such a powerful tool. It has so many benefits, and there really isn't any downside at all. A coaching conversation that doesn't achieve what you want to achieve is still a great conversation. It demonstrates that care, it demonstrates that curiosity, it allows people to feel like they're being invested in through the time. So there is no bad outcome with a coaching conversation. And we can all develop terrific skills in giving coaching a try. Skills that can be taken into other areas of our professional life as well. So with that, I might hand back over to Bernard. But yeah, good luck with all your coaching activities, and please feel free to reach out to me, to anyone in the Coach Hub team, to Bernard, to Mabel, if you've got any questions.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Fiona, for such a very insightful and also rich session. When you went across broad as well, you went deep enough. And also at the same time, I personally really want to appreciate the reminder on what coaching is not, right? And also at the same time, bring me back to the thinking about we are trying to really support someone to be at a better place. And very importantly, it is non-hierarchical. Right? It doesn't mean that you need to be a senior person in the organization to be able to coach. So Fiona, thank you very much for these insights. I welcome you to stay behind and join us, right? We're going to transit into the next segment, but I'm also sensitive that you are 2 hours ahead of us, and it's dinner time for you, and I might be in between you, either through a virtual sign reaction or just a clap. And thank you, Fiona, once again for being with us today.
Thank you, everybody.
So with that, now that we have heard from an external guest, let us now move into really talking to an internal guest. And I'm taking this opportunity to introduce our own coaching practitioner, right? Kaini, who is also, as all of us know, also is our CFO. So, before I jump into questioning Kaini, I want to share with you that in my conversation with her, I really found her being very passionate about lifelong learning. And also, very importantly, she's very generous in sharing her experiences with others. Really, thus I really need to jump on this opportunity to then, being a bit thick-skinned and say, Kaini, would you like to join us in our learning festival, being a speaker? Glad that she willingly agreed. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Kaini, right, with this informal chat. And let's start talking to her about her coaching journey. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kaini.
Yeah, thanks, Bernard. Yeah, so I didn't realize that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So I didn't realize hello along the corridor. Hey, Kaini, can you be can you come and share? And our Learning Fest has now landed me on this hot seat of being interviewed by Bernard here. So happy to be sharing.
Thank you. So next time when you see me, you don't run away, okay? Please don't run away. Okay?
I think I gotta go in hiding already. All right.
So Kaini, thanks very much for being with us today. I know, and then also taking time off with your very, very busy schedule, right? And having a chat with us. Let me jump straight into the first question. So, all of us know now that you are a professional coach. Really interested to find out what drove you towards professional coaching. Yeah. I think we have been talking about coaching with Fiona and what it is and how it is. Now you are a live person based here in Singapore, right smack in IHiS. What drove you to professional coaching?
Thanks, Bernard, and thanks again for inviting me to share. Well, professional coaching. Maybe I share a little personal story first. Actually, one of my most respected person was actually my grandmother, my grandma, right? She was a Chinese school principal who really embraced lifelong learning. So, I mean, at 70, she was learning English. Can you imagine this Chinese school principal at 70 decide to take and learn English? At 80, she was like learning Chinese painting. At 90, she has the guzheng teacher come to her house to teach her the musical instrument. Actually, at 100, my uncle bought her the iPad. And then she was using the iPad to look at the photographs of the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. So she really embraces lifelong learning. And as I was reviewing my own personal development, and I thought, hey, what is that Kaini 2.0 in a year's time? Today, agile software development, our handphones get software upgrades all the time, right? Auto upgrades and all. So what more as we as human beings, what is that next version of me that is better than today? And I decided that maybe I shall embark on the journey of being a professional coach. I learned a lot, so much more through the course, not knowing what I was getting myself into actually. And like what Fiona shared, it actually also sharpened a lot of my personal skills, soft skills. I think accounting can be quite a hard topic. Finance and procurement can be quite a technical, hard topic, right? But this training really helped me sharpen other parts of the skill sets, and also being able to lean in to help the coachee at the same time. So I have learned a lot through the journey of becoming a professional coach. So,
thank you. I mean, it's amazing, right? I mean,
yeah.
if you think about it, very amazing. Your granny was really the one that kind of inspired you, right, towards being so passionate about learning and continuously creating maybe your version 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0, right? And many more to come, right? And I guess that's very, very encouraging. And ladies and gentlemen, just when I first started off having this conversation with everybody, right, and I introduced Kanye, I said she's very generous about sharing. She started off with a personal story, right? So thanks for that. And thus, that started me being very curious. Actually, you said that you mentioned just now you went into coaching, right, without really knowing what you are really into. And now you are, a professional coach. Right? So could you maybe share with the audience what is this the one coaching experience that left you with a very deep impression?
Thanks for that. Yeah, I recall bringing this. I was stuck with an issue myself, right? And I recall bringing this topic for discussion with my coach. I wasn't sure how to proceed, and I was like, just feeling like, stuck, basically. So I was amazed that going through the coaching process, it is a very, actually it's a very structured process. And there are certain techniques and skill sets and toolkits that is being used throughout the coaching process that help me see different perspectives, explore solutions. In fact, I was able to develop a plan to resolve the issue. And the coach wasn't even the subject matter expert of the topic, right? I was like, wow. After the session, I was like, I felt the wow moment, right? And yeah, maybe, sorry, since you say I like to share, let me share one more experience,
sure.
which is actually I coached somebody as well. Right, and the person approached me. He was feeling stuck, and we talked and putting him through some of the questioning and structured process. And when I checked back with him, after a while, I was very surprised that he took action after the coaching session to basically take action on the thing that was troubling him, and he thought he couldn't proceed and has run out of alternatives. And he was a much happier person. So these were the two coaching experiences that felt left me to feel that it is something that really will help us when we feel stuck.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I mean, everybody, well, at least some of the people that I talk to or engage with, just talking about coaching in general, right? People tend to say, yeah, I want to find a coach because the person can give me a solution. But I think, what you have been sharing as well as Fiona just now, frankly, there will not be any solution at all. It's just being a compass and help the person navigate, right, to a particular point, right, that is purposeful and fits the individual. And most of the time, it's the individual taking action. I mean, you in your second example or your sharing, you said that, what surprised you was that individual take action. And of course, when you take action, then there'll be a different result, right? What's the point of talking and talking? So I think, as all of us know, right, as part of coaching, while there's a lot of conversation, right, it's also important that the individual, the coachee, takes action and follow through with the action, so that things are seen differently, and at the same time, behaviors and actions are done differently, right? So that you get a different outcome as you go about that. So Kanye, I would also like to find out, right? During your experience, right, being coached by someone, right? What were some of the, if there is any, what are some of the, in a way, uncomfortable moments? Because I think in my casual conversation with you, we talk about vulnerability, right? So how do you overcome it, or how did you help your coachee overcome his or her vulnerability. Because in the chat we all talk about the trust and building that relationship, being open. So yeah, would like to maybe hear from you in that perspective.
Yeah. Thanks. So I think first of all, okay, so vulnerability has a few components. Whether is it you're performing the role of a coach, or sometimes just talking through, we are not always right in that sense, right? How do we accept and be willing to accept that, be willing to be vulnerable in that sense, right? And the fact that you are willing to accept that you are vulnerable, that you are stressed or stuck, is recognizing and owning that issue and the desire that you want to improve your performance, you want to move to a better place or happier, that you can come up with some solutions in that process. So during the coaching conversation, sometimes the coachee, is important to build that trust. Remember, we just now were talking about it. And in building the trust, sometimes then you can expose your vulnerability, and then good conversations can flow, and then you can be more open to find and own that solutioning process.
So in your experience, right, having engaged with, I guess a lot of coaches in your journey, right, helping and supporting everyone, what do you think, and maybe this is an advice to everyone, right, who has an intention of reaching out to someone to become, reaching out to a coach, right, and be a coachee. In your view, what are the persona of a good coachee? Yeah. So that I always felt that it's a two-way relationship. You have a coach and then you're a coachee. So definitely there are some attributes of a good coach, but at the same time, the coachee must also, to your point just now, be vulnerable and be ready. Right. So what's the persona of a good coachee in your view?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, somebody, first of all, that you have somebody who wants to improve your performance, or you feel stuck, or you feel stressed. You think you have an issue to solve, and you want to own the issue, and you want to solve it, and it may be beneficial for you to engage a coach to guide you through a structured process, and you'll be surprised that you can actually find a solution yourself. Yeah. Or when you're undergoing change, right? Just now, Fiona talked about change. With change, it always comes with anxiety of sorts, stress of sorts. You're uncertain what will happen. Then unknowingly, it causes some stress. But if there is the willingness to accept and be vulnerable to say that it is an issue that I want to resolve, perhaps I could establish a coaching relationship with somebody, engage a coach, and then find in me to find that solution together with the coach as my enabler. Then I think this will be the right persona of a coaching, somebody that really wants to move to a better outcome.
Now, I really do not want to dominate the questioning, because I believe that among the group here, right, there will be people who might have some questions, right? So I really want to give others an opportunity. That I know that I'm the host, I can ask a lot, but that's not really right? So with that, really curious, throwing out to the floor. Is there anyone of you who have a question for Kylie? I mean, really take this opportunity to ask her about coaching, right, and her views, because as I said, it's really a privilege to have her join us today, right? So if you are shy, you can put it on a chat, but You know, right? As I've always advocate, let's turn on the video and then just ask, right? Nothing beats engagement. So yes, anyone. Yes, yes, David. So David have a question. What would be your best tip to motivate tired teammates?
I think
Thank you, David, in all sense.
yeah. David, so in a typical coaching landscape or setting, we will want to know a bit more why you're tired, right? Without first understanding why you're tired, then we can get on to more the underlying reasons, and it's for us to find it among ourselves. What is that solution? The tricky part as we embark on this coaching journey, in fact, one of the segment in my professional coaching that left a very strong impression on me was this picture of what is coaching. Coaching is that the coachee actually has a problem, stare at the problem. The problem is very tired and how to motivate teammate, right? That is the problem. But the role of the coach is to understand truly and help you understand what is it that is, what are the alternatives, right? What are the different alternatives that you might have to motivate a tired teammate? Actually, almost like Kung Fu Panda. I don't know whether how many of you watch the Kung Fu Panda show. You open the scroll, and no, what is it? No. Actually, it's in you. Yeah. So I think I don't want to prescribe a solution, because I think what a coach will want to do is to have a conversation with you to further understand why and how, the root cause, and then co-develop a solution together. So David, happy to have coffee with you at our brand new IHiS Cafe.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Where's David?
Yes.
Oh, thank you for approving our papers. Okay.
Wait. This is a coaching session. I'm not approving paper session. Okay, David? All right, let's get it clear.
Yeah.
But I think, Kanye, you're absolutely right. I mean, let's not jump into a solution. That's not the purpose of coaching. It's really to kind of peel the onion, right? Try to understand the intention behind the tiredness, and try to really understand what is driving that perceived tiredness, and then see how we can kind of work out a solution. And those solutions are from the individual. So it's really being the guide. I'll call it the guide to the solutioning. So yeah.
I'll be very frank. While we're waiting for more questions, I'll be very frank that, okay, phone makes me happy. Very good. So please visit our brand new IHiS Cafe. I'm advertising for the cafe. Yeah.
And I think Vivian has another question, which is, what, in your view, Kylie, what makes an effective coach?
Yeah. So the coach is really to help the coachee. So if the coachee can become a better performing person, or be happier, or be able to solve the coachee's problem by himself, I think that what makes an effective coach. I'll be very frank and honest, right? That in embarking on the coaching journey, as we are all new to coaching, it's very easy to be sucked into solutioning, trying to solve the solution or solve the problem for the coachee. This is our 101 typical challenge we face as a coach. So sometimes it's even better that you are not a subject matter expert, so you can solve it for the person, right? But it's through the structured process of asking the right question and seeing things from a different perspective to really enable and bring the coaching to the next level.
It's indeed tempting. Because I think we are all engineered to, when someone asks us something, we must have a solution, right? If we don't have a solution, then no, we are not doing justice. So we kind of sometimes take the responsibility of that problem on ourselves. But I mean, as you have rightfully shared, right, that's really not the intent of coaching. Right? Looking at time, I think we have time for one final question. All right. Is there any other question for Kaini?
And Bernard.
And Bernard, okay. I'm not approving papers. Anyone? Okay. Calling once.
We have a question from Jenna.
Oh, sorry, missed that. Jenna, sorry, I missed that. What possible ways to encourage a shy coachee to speak up?
I'm so tempted to jump into solutioning and sharing experiences. Is Fiona still here? Yeah, so Jenna, I think again, would like to understand a bit more about the coachee. Why are you shy? What's keeping you back? What's keeping you back and why are you shy? Finding the root cause of that action or reaction, right? Sometimes there's this other otherwise coaching cannot happen. This is creating a trusted relationship. So sometimes somebody can appear very shy, right? So how do you create that comfortable, trusted relationship for the coachee to speak up? Yeah. So it may take more than one session. So yes, true, Jenna. Maybe we could have a conversation. Chemistry. Trust and chemistry. Actually, chemistry is important. So when I was training, I think one of my fellow coach did share that, there was in a very odd scenario that the chemistry really couldn't be established, and then she had to let go of that engagement. But most of the time, through that structured process, it can happen.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and it's nothing personal. Right? I mean, sometimes it's just the connection that doesn't work. But with the structured process, it enables that connectivity faster, right? Or maybe more effectively. But like all things, sometimes it just doesn't work out, and it's just nature of things. Right? Things are such. Right? So with that, Kaini, maybe final words. Huh? So what is one ending statement you will leave with our audience today?
Okay. One last statement. Well, I mean, this is a learning fest, right? So maybe one last statement is, what is that version 2.0 of yourself in a year's time? I leave that with you for the long weekend. What is that version 2.0 of you in a year's time? And yeah.
Yes, and it's so timely, right? Really, taking the long weekend, right? Starting from tomorrow to reflect and think, about what is our version 2.0. So, ladies and gentlemen, really kindly, really appreciate your honest, candid as well as very generous sharing. I mean, I believe everyone will agree that it is really very insightful to hear from Kaini. from her personal experience, right, starting from the grandmother to the personal experience, as well as giving us insights into what does a coach really do, right? When we really engage in a conversation, it's really not about solutioning, but providing guidance and support, and helping the person to be in a better place.